The first thing you hear is the furniture groaning, not creaking, groaning. Wood buckling against water, a deep belly moan rising from the floors below. You sit still, on the attic boards, barefoot, the hem of your dress soaked past your knees. There's no lantern, just the gray blue of pre-dawn pressing through a crack in the wall, and the sound of water slapping against the baseboards like a slow, patient hand. You don't call out. No one's there to hear it. You learned that yesterday, and the day before, and the one before that, when the man who said he'd bring back oil and dry bread simply didn't. Not a goodbye, not even a lie, just the silence and the rising water. You shift your weight. The baby turns with you, low and heavy, not ready but present. She kicks when the cabin moans again. You press your palm to the small hill of your belly and whisper nothing, because there are no promises left, only breath. The stairs are gone, swallowed 2 days ago. You'd watch them vanish one step at a time, water licking higher like it had a schedule. Now there's only this attic crawl, 3 feet high at the pitch, thick with mildew and wasps' nests left from summers you didn't know you'd never see again. You glance at the slatted window, too small to pass through. Not that there's a road on the other side, only trees, mud, and more water. Your throat's dry. Your last sip was last night, rain caught in a tin bowl, most of it spilled when the table tipped sideways. Now the tin floats near the center beam, bumping gently with every shift in the house's spine. You try not to think of what's beneath it. Rats, spoiled flour, the mattress. The first blood you couldn't scrub from the nursery floor. You blink hard, then reach into your pocket. A pin, bent. You press it flat against the wall's interior plank and etch one more tally. 14. That's how many days since the creek rose. 7 since the first floor flooded. 3 since you heard another voice. You lean your head against the plank, close your eyes, and imagine what you'll tell her. The girl, your daughter, if you get to tell her anything at all. Outside a bird calls once, then again, but it sounds far, like it's already forgotten this place ever had a door. You shift again, the baby shifts with you, and for a second, just one, you wonder if she knows the difference between womb and water, and whether she'll remember the cabin or just the silence. If stories like this help you breathe easier, you know where to find more. Let me know what time it is where you are, and if you're listening alone, now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let the story come to you. He said he'd be back by sundown. That was 3 sunsets ago. No horse tracks in the mud. No rations in the saddlebag he left behind. No reason, no warning. Just the latch clicking shut behind him, like every door you've ever trusted. You sit in the attic's lowest corner, knees tucked, belly pressing high and forward. The floor under you pulses with the shift of weight below, floating timbers, a dresser unmoored, the edge of the hearthstone sagging through the first floor beams. The house isn't drowning, not fast, just enough to remind you of every hour he's been gone, and every lie he used to fill the air before that. He wasn't your husband, he was your employer. A widower, they said, a man with 2 young sons and a parcel of land that never dried out. They needed a governess, someone who could teach the boys to read, to bow, to forget their mother didn't finish the stitching in their blankets. You were 19. Had a voice that carried in church but not at supper. Had neat penmanship and silence where a past should be. Perfect. You ask yourself now why you stayed, Why you ignored the creaks in the floor when he passed your door at night. Why you said thank you when he handed you tea without asking if you'd eaten. Why you didn't run when the first rain came and he asked you to sleep in the nursery instead of your own cot. You remember his last words, "I'll bring more oil, keep the baby warm." And then, as he reached the door, "I didn't plan for this, you know." You didn't answer. You didn't ask what this meant. Now you do. Over and over in your head. What did he not plan? The pregnancy, the rising flood, your silence or your survival? The shawl he wrapped around you that morning still clings to your shoulders, a stiff thing, wool, fringed with dust. You always hated how it smelled, like cedar and absence. He said it was his wife's, but you never saw her wear it. You only saw it draped across his chair like a flag you weren't allowed to touch. The house shifts again. A wet groan. One of the rafters pops. You press your palm flat to the attic floor, feel the cold of it, the pressure from below, like time itself has taken on water and started to swell. You think of the boys, where they were taken when he sold the horses and rode off alone. You asked once. He said they were with kin, but you never got names, never saw letters, just their shoes by the fire, one day gone the next, like their mother, like your name on the ledger, like him. You hold your belly now with both hands. Try not to cry. You can't spare the salt. Instead you hum, the only song your mother ever taught you before the coughing took her. It isn't much. 3 notes, then 1 repeat. But the baby kicks every time, like she knows the tune better than you do. You don't blame her. You don't blame him anymore either. Not the way you used to. Now, blame feels like weight you can't afford to carry while the house sinks around you. Instead, you make a plan. You count rafters. You check the slat near the chimney where the light comes in thin and sharp. You think, if the water rises just 6 more inches, you can stand on the cedar chest and reach the seam. If the seam breaks, maybe the roof lifts. If the roof lifts, maybe the river carries what's left of the ledger trunk. And if the ledger floats, maybe it brings back the part of the truth he buried deeper than the cellar. You break the seal on the wall panel by accident. A gust of wind pulls the chimney seam tighter than usual. The wooden slat groans, shifts, and pops forward. Not far, just enough to notice. Inside, paper, folded ledger pages, damp but legible. Ink bleeding at the corners. You pull one free, then another. They're inventory logs, receipts, debts, entries for meals, firewood, whiskey, chickens, soap. Then household members. Mr. Jacob Whitlow, head. James and Eli Whitlow, dependent minors. Mrs. Abigail Whitlow, deceased, 1872. Miss Flora Wilkes, nursemaid, discharged. Mr. Lester Grange, hand, seasonal, blank. You search the rest of the stack, pages for months, then seasons, then years. You're not on a single one, no Governess, no Sarah, no Essie Moreland. You were never listed, not as help, not as hired, not as mistress. You existed off record, like a squeaky hinge, a stack of folded linens, a shadow. You sit back, fingers trembling. You remember the first time he asked you to write in the lesson log, for the boys. Neat penmanship. You wrote their spelling scores, their Latin verbs. He signed the bottom. But he signed your name, then crossed it out, then signed his again. You thought it was a mistake, or modesty, or habit. Now, you see it clearly. That was the first erasure, a gentle one, soft as breath, but breath that was held and never let go. The cabin groans again, a ripple in the ceiling, dust falls. You cover your mouth, cough once, the baby stirs. You rock instinctively, even though you're seated, even though there's no chair, even though nothing about this place has held you gently in weeks. You unfold the last page from the panel, a list of emergency rations, dates, quantities, deductions. The handwriting changes halfway down, not his, yours, your cursive S. But next to it, in a foreign hand, not to be logged, unapproved. No initials, no explanation, just that note. You trace it again, then fold the page back. Not to hide it, but to keep it dry. You weren't staff. You weren't family. You were a ghost made useful. And now you're a ghost that breathes, that sings lullabies, that remembers. You press the pages into the corner above your head, wrap them tight in your shawl beneath the baby's blanket, because even if they don't call you anything, you'll keep what you are in ink. And when someone finds you, if they do, you want them to know you were here. It comes at night, not thunder, not wind, the sound of paper, soft, soaked, and shifting below. You're half asleep, head pressed to the attic wall, one hand curled around the baby beneath your shawl, the other hand open, fingers twitching, listening. That's when you hear it, a slop, a dull scrape, something thumping gently against the underside of the attic trap. You slide across the floor, peer through the warped floorboards, and there it is, a book, bloated, black-bound, swollen from the water, floating, turning, drifting, like it's looking for you. You lower a rope made of shawl fringe and tied apron cord. Fish it once. Miss. Try again. Catch the corner. Pull. Slowly. It surfaces through the attic trap like something surfacing from memory. You lay it on a dry spot near the chimney and wait. Wait for the water to recede. Wait for the ink to settle. Wait for the truth to dry just enough to be touched. By dawn, it's ready. You peel it open with care. Pages stick together, names bleed. But then, an entry, boxed in red ink. Unusual. He never boxed anything. You stare. It's your name, written in his hand, spelled right, underlined once. And beside it a number, not a date. A code. You flip backward, page after page. At the beginning of the book, you find the key. The ledger was coded by initials, dates, household events, births, transactions. You trace the number, match it. The code says, domestic transfer, intimate service, discretion applied. Below that, a note, half smeared but still legible. No claim, no proof, no name required. Your throat tightens. You flip forward, find your name again, this time boxed twice. A red line through it. Next to it in blue ink, risk reduced. Transfer complete. Off record. You close the book. Hold it to your chest. It's still wet, still heavy, and somehow still colder than the water that carried it to you. You whisper to the baby, he wrote me down, then softer, then he wrote me out. She stirs, doesn't cry, just presses her head harder to your collarbone, as if she heard, as if she knows. You rock in silence, the cabin creaks. A bird sings near the roof, and you stare at the ledger, the one thing that shouldn't have floated, but did. The one thing meant to bury you, and instead came back. You smile without joy, because even lies can drown. But ink remembers. You wait until the baby sleeps again, then open the ledger to the middle. You need to see it all, not just your name, not just the code, the whole thing, the stain of it, the orchestration. You peel the pages back, one by one, slow and cautious, until you find the lesson log. Latin verbs, arithmetic columns, a list of spelling mistakes, all in your hand. You know your loops, you know how your F tilts sideways when you're tired, but then a line you don't remember writing. A lesson on Midsummer Bird Song. The date? Wrong, too early. You check again. It's dated before the day, before that day. Before the baby, before the bleeding. Someone forged the entry, used your hand as a mask, changed the calendar, made it look like you were already with child before you were, made it seem like the timing didn't match, like it belonged to someone else. You keep reading. In the margin, another signature. Messy, unfamiliar. It isn't his, but it's been approved. Signed B.U. Grange. You remember him. The stable hand who left in the storm. The one they said ran off after being accused of theft. Now you see it. They buried the baby's name under his, made him the explanation, made you the silence. You close the book too hard. It flaps once, startles the baby. You hush her, kiss her brow. Then press your cheek to hers and whisper, "I'm sorry," because she won't know what this ledger means for years, but you do. It means she was never meant to be remembered, and that's the cruelest part. Not that they left you behind, not that he never came back, but that they plan to erase her from the beginning. You stare at the forged page, the fake lesson, the fake timing, and you think of the way he used to say your name like it was a borrowed thing, like something he could give and take back. Now you know. He never said it to remember you. He said it to replace you. You tear the page out, carefully, fold it 3 times, place it inside the cradle, not as proof, as protection, because this child won't grow up with secrets tucked between floorboards. She'll grow up with paper armor. You sit beside the cradle, the ledger open, its torn page tucked under your hand. The baby sleeps, chest rising slow beneath the shawl that never belonged to either of you until now. And still, the water rises. An inch an hour, maybe less, but enough. Enough that you feel it in the joists, in the smell, in the dull rhythmic slosh of what used to be the hearth. But you know now, the flood didn't begin outside. It started the night the barn door was left unlatched. You remember waking to the creak. The horses gone, no hoof prints in the mud, no broken latch, just absence. The next morning, he said they wandered, that someone must have left the gate open, but the gate was yours to lock, and you never forgot. Then the cellar, the smell of rot rising too early in the season, a cask left open, flour sacks half-soaked, mildew crawling like ivy across the floorboards. He said it was the weather, but the weather doesn't pry open root cellar hatches with clean tools. The weather doesn't move ink and pen from your desk to his and back again. The water now is honest. It doesn't hide. It doesn't lie. Boy, it simply is. It rises when it pleases. It takes what can't float, and it leaves you here, still, thinking, connecting dots not just of time, but of intention. You reach for your boots, soaked, stiff, still laced the way you left them 2 days ago, but the laces are tied wrong, not how you tie them, too loose. The loop twisted. Someone had moved them. You scan the attic. Try to remember, did he come up here before he left? You remember now. He brought a lantern, said he needed to check the rafters for squirrel nests, but he never looked up, just stood there, quiet, watching the baby sleep, then touched the shawl, then turned and walked back down. That was the day before the rain, the day he left, or rather the day he decided you would stay. You rise now, not fast, but with certainty. You move through the attic, hand pressed against every board, every rafter, looking for a sign, something not just left behind but planted. And behind the chimney stack, in the space between the boards, you find it. A second ledger, smaller, no cover, just one page, folded, titled Settlement Terms. Below it, one cradle preserved. One ledger submerged. No staff retained. Cabin forfeited to rising ground, signed at the bottom. Initials only, not his, but traced in red ink, just the same. You sit back on your heels. The baby stirs. You cradle her in your arms and say aloud, "He didn't run from the flood." You look around the walls, the cracked chimney, the door braced from the outside, then whisper, "He made it." The shift starts just after midday. You hear it first in the nails. They groan. A high-pitched sound like teeth grinding inside the walls. Then a pop, then another. The house tilts, not far, but enough for your balance to fail. You fall sideways, arms wrapped around the baby. The cradle bumps and rocks, slides toward the slope of the attic floor. You catch it with your foot, breathe once, hard, then again. The back wall is pulling away, slowly, like it's been thinking about it for weeks and finally made up its mind. Water laps beneath the beams, not gentle anymore. Hungry, dark, full of things that don't float anymore. You brace the cradle with a rope, tie it to the chimney base, check the knot twice, then press your palm to the boards and whisper, "Not today." Not because you believe it'll listen, but because speaking it aloud feels like taking back something. The baby kicks, not hard, but with intent. You shift her across your hip, her eyes flicker open. They don't cry, they don't question, they just watch, like she knows more than you do about what's coming. You move to the opposite end of the attic. Search for anything heavier than wood. You find the iron candle holder, a bent pot, a crate of old tools. You stack them at the wall that's shifting. Weight buys time, not salvation, but time. Time to plan, time to pray, if that's still in you, time to keep her dry. Outside clouds roll faster now, low and thick and mean. Rain won't help. But you're past caring about what helps. Now you care about what holds, what doesn't let go, what can be tied, lifted, salvaged. You press your ear to the floor. The water is louder now, like it's climbing the stairs it already swallowed. You wrap the baby tighter, kiss her head, then say, "You're going to remember this as noise, not fear." You don't know if it's true, but she blinks once, then lays her cheek against your collarbone. You sit down, back to the chimney, feet braced, cradle tied, baby in your arms, and you wait for the next tilt, for the next groan, for the part where something gives. But until then, you hold and breathe and sing the three-note hum again, because it's all you have. And maybe that's enough. The house is quieter now, not still, not safe, just waiting, as if it knows something is about to be remembered. You sit with your back pressed to the chimney, baby in one arm, ledger in the other. You shouldn't open it again, not now, not while the roof groans and the walls lean. But you do, because there's one page you haven't dared to find. You flip until you see it. The page marked March 13th, not your birthday, but hers, conception date, written in code. Lesson entry, arithmetic review, the handwriting yours. Except the timestamp says 10 p.m. You never taught lessons past dusk. You remember that day, the storm, the candles, the sound of thunder close enough to shake the floor. The boys were gone. sent to a neighbor's to wait out the rain. He'd asked you to help him shelve books in the study. You said yes. Because you always said yes. Because no one ever taught you the word no could be said quietly, without punishment. He closed the door. Didn't lock it, just stood in front of it, told you to sit. You didn't. You stood by the window, asked if he needed something written. He said, no, just proof. You didn't understand. Then you did. Too late. The fire hissed from wet logs. The ink on his ledger dried as he moved behind you. You remember your hand on the desk, the corner pressed into your hip, the way your breath stopped halfway through the scream you never finished, the scream no one heard. You fold the ledger, place it under your leg. The baby stirs. You rock her gently, not to calm her, to remind yourself she is here, that something lived through that moment. Not just you, her. The house tilts again, hard. You grab the beam with one hand. The cradle skids, hits the rope, bounces back. Still secure. You breathe. Fast. Then slower, because the memory didn't take you under. It tried, but it failed. Like he failed. You whisper to the baby, you came from that, but you are not that. She shifts, then sleeps again, and you know she doesn't understand the words, but maybe the tone, maybe the hum beneath them. Outside, rain starts again, not loud, but steady, the kind that fills rivers, the kind that lifts dead wood, the kind that makes ledger books float up from cellars. And truth surface, whether it's ready or not. You sit back, feel the wood pulse, and you wait, not for him, never again for him. You wait for the roof to lift or the floor to open, whichever comes first. Because either way, you're not leaving her behind. You return to the ledger again, not because it helps, but because it holds, even soaked, even warped, even smeared. It holds more truth than any man has said to your face in months, maybe years. You flip toward the back, pages added in a different ink, tighter script, fewer margins, a column labeled exceptional cases. You scan down, dates, events, codes, then a name you don't recognize. L. Grange, next to it, informal involvement noted, paternity presumed, staff dismissed for conduct unbecoming. The date matches your 4th month, the one where you stopped being asked to come to dinner, the one where he stopped saying good morning, the one where the stable hand vanished without collecting his pay. You remember the man, soft eyes, wore his hat too low, said yes, even when no would have served better. He never touched you, never lingered. He once handed you a flower wrapped in a napkin and walked away before you could thank him. You never saw him again. Now you know why. You flip the page, find your name. Only once, but paired with his. As if that made it true. As if his initials were a shield. As if signing the lie made it cleaner. You sit with the ledger in your lap. The baby lies in the cradle now, hands balled in her sleep. You stroke her cheek, say her name, the real one. Not the one the ink tried to bury her under. You whisper, you don't belong to the man who left. Then softer, you don't belong to his shame. The room doesn't answer, but the wind through the cracks in the roof seems to agree. You tear the page, fold it once, set it beside her, not to keep, to show. One day, when she's ready, because the truth is hers, not theirs. You press your palm against the soaked spine of the ledger. You say his name once, flat, then never again. Because he doesn't get to be repeated, not after this. Not after you've made something from the space where he tried to write you out. The baby stirs. You lift her, Rock her. Whisper, "You are made of survival," and the walls tilt again, and still, you do not fall. There's a difference. Abandonment leaves a trace. A letter, a word, a door left open. Erasure is quieter. It doesn't leave bruises. It doesn't scream. It simply rewrites. Until your presence feels like a rumor. Until the only place you still exist is in the weight of a cradle that no one expected to hold anything. You stare at the page, the one with the forged name, then at your hands, ink-stained, swollen, still yours. The only proof you've ever been here is under your nails and under your breath. You try to list everything he took. He didn't take your voice. You still hum. He didn't take your body. It still holds her. He didn't take your name. He just never used it. And that might be worse. You shift. The floor groans beneath you. The water has crept higher again, maybe an inch, maybe two. You brace your feet against the chimney. The cradle rocks but stays firm. Your daughter opens her eyes, just for a moment, then closes them again, like she's still learning what it means to be seen. You whisper, "You're not a mistake." Then louder, "You're not a transaction." And with each word, something in the house seems to pause, not break, not collapse, just listen. You reach for the ledger again. The pages are beginning to dry in strange shapes. You flip to the first. There's a list of names there. Founders of the house, heirs, sons, wives. And there's room at the bottom, one blank line, no ink. You press your hand against it. Think about what would happen if you wrote yours, if you claimed space in the one place that denied you all along. You dip your finger into a puddle of soot water, pooled at the base of the chimney. Trace your initials into the paper, not permanent, not official, but there. And for a moment, you exist in their record, but on your terms. The house creaks again, the wind rises, but something in you stills. The panic is dull now, not gone, but muted. Because they didn't just leave you behind, they built a world to make you forgettable. And you refused. You tuck the ledger beside the cradle, lay your daughter across your knees, rock once, then twice. And when you whisper her name this time, you don't whisper, you say it. Full voice, clear. So if anyone is left out there, anyone still listening, they'll know you survived, not by escaping, but by being unerasable. You don't hear it rise, you feel it, a dampness crawling up the floorboards like breath up your spine. You shift, your ankles are wet, you blink hard, look down. The crate you'd used as a step stool now floats sideways, one corner lifted, like it's asking to be forgiven. You move fast, faster than you have in days. Grab the cradle, tie another line from the chimney, secure it high. Then look for the blanket. The first one. Not the shawl from his wife. Not the stitched one you're making. The muslin wrap from the kitchen drawer. Frayed at the edges. Soft from too many washings. The one she first slept in. It's gone. You scan the floor. The basin. The corner by the chimney where you laid it to dry. You see it. Half submerged, inching toward the attic trap. You crawl fast. Try to reach. But the floor sags with your weight. Your fingers slip. The blanket edges through the crack, then disappears. You sit back, breathing hard, not crying, not yet, but close, because it was just a square of cloth. And still, it held the beginning. The first moment she was someone, and now Now it's drifting below, into the rot and the silence and the memory of a house that never wanted either of you. You curl around the baby, tuck her in tighter, say, "That wasn't you." Then again, "That wasn't you." But you feel it anyway, a thread snapped loose, one that won't be tied again. You stare at the hatch, think, "I could go down, try to find it, try to save it, but you won't, because your job now isn't saving memory, it's preserving her, what she is, what she will be." You shift back to the fire pit, toss in dry paper from the ledger, pages that hold lies. The ones with the name of the stable hand, the ones where your name was crossed out. They burn fast, they don't resist. She coos once, reaches for the edge of your shawl. You guide her hand to your chest, press it flat, say, "Right here." She closes her fingers into your blouse like she's holding the whole house together. Maybe she is, maybe you both are. The rain lets up, only slightly. The water stirs beneath the floor like something tired, but not done. You pull another blanket tighter, stare into the dark corners of the attic, and let yourself say her name aloud, twice. Once like a whisper, once like a promise. It happens just after dusk. The rain stops, not gradually, it just stops, like someone flipped the sky off at the wrist. You hold your breath. Wait for it to start again, but it doesn't. You shift toward the chimney, press your ear against the brick. No thunder, no wind. Only the deep, tired drip of water unwinding itself from the roof. You stand, careful. The house creaks under you, but no longer groans. You lift the baby, hold her against your chest. Her skin is warm, soft. She sleeps, like nothing's ever been wrong. Then, a noise. Not inside, above. A crunch of wood, not splintering, more like prying. You look up toward the highest point in the slanted roof, where a slat was already loose from the last storm. Light seeps through, a beam, white, moonlight. You squint, and then a hand, a human hand, calloused, worn, pale, fingers spread reaching through the narrow gap in the slats, like it knows where you are. You don't move. You don't speak. You just blink once. Then again, because it's not his hand, not the man who left. This one is smaller, rougher, framed in wood smoke and pine pitch. "Ma'am?" A voice, low, cracked, real. "Ma'am, I've got you." You breathe once, not deep but fully. And then you whisper, "We're here." The hand disappears, then returns, with rope, with a second voice, a younger one. Then a second hand, and soon after, the slat lifts. The moon floods in, soft, gentle, no judgment, just light. You lift the baby again, wrap her, kiss her brow. Then look up. The hands reach for her first. You hesitate, then pass her through. She disappears in a hush of blankets and breath. You exhale, and the roof doesn't feel so close anymore. "Your turn," the voice says. You climb, not quickly, but steadily. Your foot slips once, but another hand catches you, and then you're outside. The night is cleaner than you remember, the air sharp, the stars visible in clusters you forgot had names. A man helps you down the ladder. Gray coat, mud on his boots, no badge, just steady hands and eyes that look straight at you. He says nothing at first, just nods toward the cradle already strapped to a wagon beside the cabin, then gestures to the baby in a woman's arms, not his, not yours, but holding her like kin. You move forward, slow, take her back. She settles instantly, like she knows this is what forward feels like. The man clears his throat. "I came for the census." You blink. I wasn't on it? He nods. No, but she is now. Then he hands you a page, fresh paper, blank but for one line, her name, the right one, spelled just how you whispered it days ago. You sit beside the fire they built just beyond the cabin. It crackles sharp, not like your attic fire, faint and reluctant. This one lives, this one breathes, and so do you. Your boots steam as they dry. The cradle rests close, propped up on canvas sacks, and your daughter is swaddled in the shawl that held a different kind of silence days ago. She sleeps belly full, mouth open just slightly, like nothing in the world has ever flooded. The man who climbed through the roof hasn't left your side. He hasn't said much either, just brought wood, poured water, watched the fire, and nodded when you looked lost. Now he sits beside you, hands folded, eyes steady. He clears his throat once, then says, I saw your name. You nod. The ledger. Yes. You wait. He doesn't continue, so you say, was it enough? He looks at you then, truly looks, not at your clothes, not at your belly, at you, and says, it was too much. You breathe out slow. Ask, then why come? He picks up a twig, snaps it, lets it fall into the fire. You weren't supposed to be found. You nod. I know. But you were. He glances at the baby. Because you didn't let them finish the erasure. You think about the pages, torn, burned, smeared, and still your name held. Not because they wanted it to, because you made it. He leans forward, draws in the dirt with his finger, a rough shape, a square with one side open. A house with no exit, he says. You understand he doesn't need to explain. That's what they tried to leave you in. But now that fourth wall is air. He reaches into his coat, pulls out a folded page, not ledger, not census, different paper, older, water-warped. You unfold it. It's your letter, the one you wrote and hid in the attic hatch weeks ago, never mailed. You stare at it, back page addressed to no one. Inside your handwriting, the real kind. The one you only used when no one was watching. It begins, if they find me, I want it known that I did not leave her, that I chose her. You touch the ink, still legible, still yours. He says, it was stuck between two beams. When I pulled the roof, it dropped in my lap. You smile, small, tired. Then, she has a name now. He nods. And now you both do. The fire hisses. You lean back. The baby stirs. He rises. Doesn't ask for thanks. Just presses a folded wool blanket beside you and walks toward the wagon. You don't stop him. You don't need to. He already knows. The letter is still in your lap, folded once, edges softened by water and heat. You touch the ink again, then press it against the side of the cradle. Feel how it fits, how it belongs, like the words wanted to live beside her all along. The baby shifts, fusses once. You lift her, settle her in the crook of your arm. She opens her eyes, well wide, dark. She blinks slowly, like the firelight doesn't startle her, just reminds her that she's warm now. You tear a strip from the bottom of the page, not the words, just the white. You tuck it beneath her blanket, then lay the rest of the page flat inside the cradle beneath the shawl, layered between warmth and breath. It's not parchment, it's not sacred, but it's real, and it carries something holy in its smudge. Not forgiveness, not justice, just record, proof of what you carried, of what you chose. Outside the wind has died, but the air is moving, not with storm, with change. You look up at the sky, no clouds, only the edge of moon waning, a sliver, still enough. You whisper her name, the full name, every syllable, then add yours behind it, as if sewing them together. The other woman, his wife, you think of her now, not with anger, with grief. Grief for the silence she left behind, grief for the shawl that traveled farther than its maker, grief for the way women disappear in ledgers and cabins and men's plans. You wonder if she ever wrote her daughter's name. You wonder if she had the chance. You won't leave it to wondering. You pull the satchel close, remove the blanket you've been stitching since the baby's first night. Not fancy, just cotton, threadbare in places, but yours. Every loop, every corner. You take the strip of letter you tore, sew it into the edge. Just one pass of needle, enough to hold. You hum as you stitch, not the old lullaby. A new one, born of rafters and soot and breath. When it's done, you wrap her in it, fully, cradle her again. And for the first time she doesn't shift. She just settles, like a name finally landing where it all was meant to rest. The man returns at dawn, no sound, just presence. He looks at the fire, then at the cradle, then at you. You nod once, lift the baby so he can see. He places something beside her, a bead, green, oval, familiar, then turns, leaves you to the light, and you say, low and sure, this one will not be erased. The cabin is behind you now, what's left of it. Its roof sagged, its walls bowed, half swallowed by mud and current. But it didn't win, it didn't keep you, it didn't close over your head and leave you blank. You walk away carrying everything they tried to sink. The baby is warm in your arms. Her breath matches yours now. No stutter, no startle, just rhythm. You wrapped her tight in the stitched blanket, the sewn-in truth folded against her back. The ledger, what was left of it, rests in your satchel, the pages that mattered tucked between blankets and beads. You'll burn the rest later. Let the ash carry what can be forgotten. A wagon waits where the land begins to rise. The man stands beside it. No questions in his eyes, just space. He lifts the cradle onto the wagon bed with care. You climb up beside it, lay her down. She stirs, but doesn't wake, because she knows. She's safe now, not because the road is easy, but because she is named. You whisper that name again, to her, to the wind, to the wagon, to yourself. You let it bloom through your chest like something still wet from birth. Then you say your name, out loud, twice, once as you were, once as you are. They don't echo, but they hold, and that's enough. The wagon begins to move, slow, rutted wheels groaning through grass and old rain. The man does not look back. Neither do you, because this isn't about what was. It's about what survived it. You hold her tighter as the ridge crests. The sun splits low across the edge of the world. No clouds, no ledger codes, no door frames with your name missing. Only this, a child whose first breath broke through silence. A mother who wasn't erased, and a story that didn't rot beneath floorboards, but floated. The road hums beneath you, somewhere ahead. Names that belong, land that doesn't ask who signed for you, only whether you carried the truth when no one else would. You did, you are, you will,